Brian Bernasek. Brian is a partner and co-head of America's Corporate Private Equity at Carlyle. He joined Carlyle in 2000. He oversees Carlyle's America's Corporate Private Equity business with $70 billion in assets under management. He's a part of Carlyle's leadership committee and served on multiple firm investment committees. He has served as a director on several Carlyle investments, including Allison Transmission, Adotech, HG Supply, the Hertz Corporation, X, and Signos Industrial Group. Brian is a graduate of the University of Notre Dame and the Harvard Business School. He has had sons at Gonzaga, and his wife Kathy, who is here, is currently on the board of the WJA. Welcome, Brian. On Brian's left. Ooh. Okay. Wow. is Susan Lads, a good friend of mine. She's the CEO and owner of Bridgewell's Catering. Susan purchased Bridgewell's in 1997 with her partners and has been instrumental in the continuous growth, expansion, and maintenance of the company's corporate, social, and major events portfolio. She's a member of YPO, the Economic Club of Washington, and Leading Caterers of America. Susan received the Washington Business Journal's Women Who Mean Business Award, and she does, and was named to their Power 100 list. Susan was given the Bowls of Compassion Award bestowed by Miriam's Kitchen, and the Greater Washington Board of Trade presented Susan and Bridgewell's with the Golden Links Award. Susan is a graduate of Marymount University. On Susan's left is Tom Lynch. Tom is a founder and a partner at Iron Point Partners and IPI Partners, private equity firms focused on investments in real estate and digital infrastructure. Prior to the formation of Iron Point in 2007, Tom worked for RMB Realty and its successor, Oak Hill Realty. Prior to RMB and Oak Hill, Tom was a vice president in the investment banking division at Alex Brown Deutsche Bank. Prior to investment banking, Tom was a lieutenant in the U.S. Navy, where he served as a criminal defense attorney in the Navy's JAG Corps. Tom previously served on the board of directors of the Yellow Ribbon Fund, the Washington Jesuit Academy, the Modern Day School, the Woods Academy, and he's a member of the Executive Advisory Council at Old Dominion University Strom College of Business, and is a member of the investment committee at Gonzaga College High School. Tom earned his BA from Dartmouth College, his MBA from Old Dominion University, and his JD from the University of Virginia. In addition to his support of the Yellow Ribbon Fund and WJA, Tom is also an active supporter of Don Bosco Cristo Rey School. And last, but certainly not least, is Andrew Welters. Andrew is the founding partner of Broad Church Capital Partners. He's a vice president of corporate development, investor relations, and a board member of Sync Care. Andrew is the vice president of corporate development and founding board member of Sync Care, a majority Black-owned, provider-led care delivery system committed to serving those most in need, with a deep commitment to the Black and Brown communities. Andrew was a member of Sync Care's founding team in June 2021 and oversees all fundraising and M&A operations. Sync Care is committed to improving access to care, including, whenever possible, bringing it to home. Prior to Sync Care, Andrew founded BTLR, a mobile concierge service designed to enhance the fan experience and drive revenue growth in sports and entertainment venues. Andrew launched 5 Line Ventures in 2014, an early-stage venture firm providing capital, strategic guidance, and partnership to companies across a variety of business industries. Andrew is a champion of entrepreneurship, serving as a member of the University of Notre Dame's Idea Center. He also serves on the board of Ann Bryce Foundation, whose mission is to promote social change by building a community of global citizens through education. Andrews also served on the board of Washington Jesuit Academy, and I think his mom was on the initial board of Washington Jesuit. He's a graduate of Notre Dame. So you can see we have a totally unqualified group of people here. They're all underachievers. What we're going to talk about tonight, and we'll get you home in time for the World Series, don't worry. 3 topics: career and success focus, philanthropy and personal influence, and WJA and leadership. But before we start, how about those Commanders? Any of you completed a business Hail Mary? Took a long shot on something that came through?
Yeah, right.
Anything come to mind?
I'm buying Ridgewell's back in '97.
There you go.
Yeah, for sure. It was, I started there, and thank you for not saying how long I've been at Ridgewell's because it's been a long time. I've been there for 39 years, but when I got there in '86, I had the pleasure of working with the original Ridgewell family before they sold it to Carson Perry Scott. And just a FYI, Tom's wife is one of the Ridgewell's daughters. So you have a little connection. She's an Ellis. So long story short, I had bought some shares of Ridgewell's, and I was informed at some point that they wanted to sell the company. Ridgewell sold it to Carson Perry Scott. They sold it back to a group of private investors in Washington, and that's ultimately the group that I bought it from. But good news was we had we were a great brand and a great company. The bad news was we were really close to bankruptcy. So we had a lot of work to do, and that was a big risk on my part and going through it. And I call that my Hail Mary.
All right. Way to go. Thanks, Susan. It worked out pretty well.
Yep.
Brian, let's start with you. What can you offer these young, bright people in front of us? Some of the keys to your success in your career, maybe a couple.
Well, first of all, thank you for having us. I can't tell you how pleased I am to be in front of this group because as I've visited with folks out in the hallway, it is a really accomplished group of young people, and to have some excitement around the mission at WJA with this group, it's just great. I loved it. I love those conversations. And one thing that was not mentioned in my bio that I am really proud of is I was on the board at WJA for a number of years and chaired the board for 2 or 3, and it's one of the more special and memorable aspects and experiences of my life. So I'm very appreciative of having that time with that group, and I'm excited to see that the future is as bright as it is. Look, in terms of counsel or thoughts on future and success and how to measure that and how to achieve it. I really look at everybody's path as a journey, and how you measure it is kind of up to you in a lot of ways, and not how the world might think about it. And if I think about what's made me happiest and where I've landed where I have, more than way over 75 or 80% of it has been the good fortune I've had around me. The fact that I grew up with loving parents, had a great family. I'm married to a wonderful woman. We're great life partners. I've had mentors that I didn't have to work really hard to have mentor me, and was really, really benefited from that. And I work with just wonderful people that have been real stars, have known their sectors really well, have been great partners to me. And then the other aspects of, that you hear from people, and I definitely fall into this category. Look, there's no substitute for hard work. You'd love to be able to say you can do whatever you want without the hard work, but the reality is that you do have to come every day with the lunch pail, and that's what ends up driving success in time. But I know you can work awfully hard and not have the benefits that I had in life and not get anywhere.
Thanks, Brian. Susan, maybe one key from you?
What was the question again?
Keys to your success.
Yeah, I actually coming and showing up and working hard. I was the first one in the office and the last one to leave because they kicked me out and they locked the door. They had to lock up the office. But I don't see that in this generation. Sorry, people, but people need to just show up and work hard. It's just put in the hours is right, putting in time.
Thanks, Tom and Andrew. Yep.
Necessity sometimes, and that's drives you and makes you show up first and leave last. It's different when you're on your own and you can afford to be a little bit selfish. When you have wife, kids, tuitions, mortgages, etc., you will be the first one in, you'll be the last one out. And the other thing, I think, be careful how you define success. At my age, I'm in my early 50s. I see people, they set goals for themselves. Just take it one day at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 year at a time, and enjoy where you are. I know it's kind of, cliche or whatever, but seriously, don't think when you're 50 you have to be at a certain level, because you'll get there, and it's a journey, as Brian said. So just keep at it, keep working, and know that it's a journey, and enjoy where you are, and be careful setting too many milestones along the way.
Yeah, I think
Andrew?
most of the good things been taken.
With you on the next one.
But no, I think mentors are a huge part of getting anywhere in any sector, in any part of life. I think I've been fortunate enough to have my dad, who's been a great mentor to me, and then other folks in a variety of different roles who've kind of taken the time to sit with me and sit next to me and teach me. And I think the biggest thing that I've kind of learned over the years and has really just been to know when to not talk and just to listen. I think that there's a lot of people that will want to put their opinion out and want to say X, Y, or Z. But when you're trying to just, go along that journey and hit some of the milestones day by day, I think listening is a big part of it.
Great. Thanks very much. Okay, Andrew, back to you. What are some of the key leadership traits you've seen in good leaders in your career? What makes a leader a good leader?
I think I touched on one, people who listen. I think that leadership's an interesting thing because there are people that are kind of born leaders and it's very clear. And there's others that I think become leaders. And the folks that become leaders do that because they have mentors, they listen, they work hard. And the folks that are kind of born that way, I think it's similar characteristics. But, as far as, what makes a great leader, I think it's time put in. I can't tell you literally how much time I put into just working very, very, very hard. And there's also a point in time in which you learn how to work smart. So I think the combination of putting the time in and actually being receptive to some just criticism, some constructive, not always, and being dedicated to, as was said, being the first person in, the last one out. It's kind of interesting because I think that sometimes you try to things get overcomplicated, right? And I think that there's core things that we're going to continue to touch on that contribute to what makes somebody a leader. But I would go back to listening. Listening is a big part.
Thanks. Tom, you must have seen some leadership qualities in your time in the Navy. Anything?
I'd say I had the good fortune a few weeks ago, actually, I saw Dave Dugan here from Gonzaga. I grew up in a Navy family. So my dad served for 33 years as a naval officer and retired as an admiral. And he spoke at the Grandparents' Day a few weeks ago at Gonzaga. It was really nice. And Dave called me a few days before and said, "Hey, I'm supposed to give the intro. Why don't you introduce your dad?" And not to contradict you, Andrew, but one of my points was nobody's really born a leader. Like we have natural leadership ability, and I think probably everybody in this room does. But you become a leader with the decisions you make along the way and the experiences, and starts with your family and the network and the friends and everything else. So I think that all of us have that potential to be a leader. Probably I guarantee you, every single person in this room, you came here tonight, you made a decision to be here. So you're making those little decisions that are on your way to becoming a better leader. And then Vince, one of the things that I grew up with, as I said, my dad was 33 years in the Navy. His mantra was shipmate self, which kind of like men for others at Gonzaga, but it's the selflessness. And I think you guys you have bosses, you're a boss, you've had coaches, you've seen leaders in your life, and you can see right through somebody who's just out for themselves, right? You can see through a coach who's just looking out for their job. You can look through, a boss who's protecting, his or her own butt, where they're in it for the team, and they put team. That could be teammate, self, same thing, or any context you're in. So for me, a true leader is someone who's selfless and puts themselves last.
Great, thanks. And Tom's dad also happened to be the center on Roger Staubach's Navy football team. A small footnote.
Yeah.
Susan, from your perspective as a woman and coming up in what was then still, without divulging your age, then still pretty much a man's world, what helped you become a leader?
So when I first bought the company, I went to two women that I really admire, Linda Rabbit and Barbara Krumzek, who are very CEOs. Linda Rabbit owns the largest women-owned company here. And
they did our space here.
Yes, I saw the sticker.
Brand Construction.
Brand Construction. And I asked them to mentor me, and they took me under their wing. And it was really important for me to be mentored. I mean, I was certainly not shy, but I didn't know if I had the qualifications to run and turn this company around. So finding a good mentor, and communications is key. listening and being able to communicate is important. And being able to admit if you're not good at something, surround yourself with people that are better than you and can make you look good as it relates to. I'm not a finance person. That's like, I barely can balance my own checkbook. And I made sure that I surrounded myself with somebody who could really help me in that way. But it's really surrounding yourself with people that fill the voids that you don't have, and being able to listen and to communicate that out.
Great. Thanks, Susan. Brian, anything to add on that?
Well, you guys have covered it awfully well. Just maybe a couple of points. I've seen a lot of people who have been great CEOs or, great investors, and they all have different skills and attributes. But really, if I had to zone in on three, for me anyway, one is great leaders know what they're doing. Like there's nobody who's a great leader that folks follow because they say, I'm not sure if he or she really know what they're doing, or if they got a good plan on the strategy, or they know how to invest. You got to know what you're doing. And two, you've got to be committed to it, because people are looking to see if your head is really in the game and you really believe that you're good, that you really know what you're doing. They're looking for that. And then the key differentiator, and the one I'm always looking for, is a sense of humility. That's in short supply in the world. Humility is in short supply, and that is a really differentiating factor for great leaders, great people, folks who have a sense of being of the world, of people listening. It captures a lot of the themes that have been said here. Do they listen to what others say? Do they understand that they may not have the answer? Do they get the right people around them to make good decisions? But that in combination is pretty powerful. Those three.
Thanks a lot. Next topic. We all encounter difficult situations as we're rising through any organization that test our ethics, that test our will, that test us. Can you think of any examples you might give these folks about something that really tried you and you were able to succeed and get through it?
Oh, geez, in a career, you will have so many times where it's great and it feels like the wind's at your back and nothing can go wrong. And then you'll wake up and it's 2008 and nothing looks like it's going to work and you're not sure the ATM will work, or you are in a position that I have been in a number of times where we've made management changes in companies that we owned, and then someday you wake up and you make a management change in the company you've been in for 20 years and you experience that. And these are all life headwinds and challenges in business. And I don't know, I've always found that one of the key attributes we didn't talk about in leadership or success that I bet everybody would agree with is just perseverance. Just coming every day and sticking with it and aiming to do the right thing. And if you have sort of a code that you live by and you operate with, that you're going to do the right thing, you're going to be open and candid with people, do your best in the job that you're in, then you weather the storms. And it sounds awfully trite in that answer, as I said, but oftentimes sort of the trite is what's true and what's the reality.
Susan, you're in the catering business and you depend on events. Events stopped April 2020.
March 13th, to be exact. I got it. Yeah, I was just going to say COVID. And talk about testing your resilience and your perseverance. It's when you lose $1 million worth of business in a week. That was tough.
But you made it.
So we made it, yeah. I went into work every day. I had to lay 99% of my team off. And I had a core team that came in every day and we did anything we had to do. I was delivering food to Baltimore, to Annapolis. Everybody was packing boxes, making boxes. At one point, my son was a senior at Georgetown Prep, and I had 15 kids putting together boxes in our linen room because we had a 1,200 person party for boxes. So we just pivoted, but it was hard. And I was happy to have a strong legal team behind me to help me, because everybody was wanting us to declare the B word, which I would never do, but we survived it. We got the PP money in time, and we got some grant money, but it was probably the most difficult time in my life. And I've been through brain surgery and cancer and all that other crap. And COVID was probably the hardest thing I've ever been through. So I'm happy to say we survived and we're stronger than ever.
Yeah, and we're happy for that, as you can tell with the food and drink. Tom?
I'd say we're going through it right now at Iron Point. I don't know how many of you guys are in real estate, but Vince gave my bio. We've got 2 businesses effectively at our firm. The first and one that we started in 2007 is Iron Point Partners, multi-strategy, opportunistic real estate. And then more recently, my business Hail Mary was the creation of IPI, which was one of our strategies in 2015 was data centers. Nobody was paying attention. And so we decided either these things are getting really big, do we get out or do we lean in and create something unique and grow it? Fortunately, we did that, and data centers are, it's been phenomenal. It's been a phenomenal run. But one of my colleagues, were trying to pitch Iron Point funds, and he came to my office like, I feel like I'm, they just invented email and I'm still, selling fax machines, right? It's really, really, really hard at Iron Point right now. And they're 2 distinct businesses. We have around 20 people at Iron Point and more than that IPI.
Do y'all know what a fax machine is?
Yeah. But and so we're in the thick of it right now. I feel like it's 2008 in some regards in the Iron Point business, and it's just every single day pick ourselves up off the mat. We know the cycle will turn and we'll still be there. And I think for me, I've learned as a leader of being transparent. Like you can't, oh, everything's fine, it's going to be great in 2025. Don't worry. No, hey, like we're in it, we're committed. There's risks. Let's get through this together. And so we've been very, very transparent with our team, and everybody's in it. And I think we will get through it, but we're going through it right now.
Andrew?
Yeah, I have a few, but I'll pick one that I think
The bad one.
Yeah, the worst. So when I started, when I left Notre Dame, a friend of mine who also went there with me, who was actually went to Georgetown Prep, doesn't age well in this story, unfortunately, but you'll guys understand why. So we were best friends in college. I'm from McLean, he's from McLean. And so we're at Notre Dame together. And we had this idea for a mobile app, this concierge service for sporting entertainment venues. And so, he was a year ahead of me. And so when he graduated, he was working with his dad for a little bit. But we continued to work on this product that we were really passionate about. It stemmed from being at actually a Capitals game, and it was one of Ovechkin's greatest goals of all time, like YouTube top 10, the whole thing. And he had to go get beer, and so he missed it. And so he was watching in the small concession stand TV. So we had this idea that nobody should miss that sort of action. Why can't everything be delivered to the seat, and that sort of thing? And there was an engagement problem in a lot of these stadiums because they're very bad at engaging in stadium when it comes to a variety of things. But put that aside, we started a company called Butler. And so a year in, we did some family and friend fundraising. Probably half a year in, we said, hey, neither of us are technical founders. We got to find somebody to build this, right? And so that's what we did with Butler. And so we said, hey, we could probably help other people who have ideas for products, this, that, and the other, and come up with some sort of incubator accelerator. And for some reason, we thought that we would take it a step further and then raise some money and start investing in these companies. And so we did our first deal. I'm not going to disclose to the finance people how much of the company we bought. And a venture deal was ridiculous, looking back on it. It also was in another country. But we did that deal. And I remember walking into my 3rd board meeting with my firm. And as the elevator was opening, my email pinged. And so my business partner walks out of the elevator. It's my best friend. He walks out of the elevator as I'm getting this email. I read this email, and it's basically saying, hey, I'm done. I don't think it's working. This has been an interesting ride, but I'm out. Now, I had just signed my first venture deal. We bought 30% of this company, which is a lot. And we were about to have to finish the fundraising for that and actually, do the deal. And so he walks into the boardroom and he basically sits down. I'm reading this email and I'm sitting there like, I don't even know how to run a board meeting, first of all. Second of all, my best friend and the person that owns half of my company just said they're out. I don't know what that means at all. And I'll sum it up. But basically that day, I had a realization in that moment in that boardroom where I had to figure out what he was going to be doing with his half of the company. We were in the middle of a fundraise. The company that we invested in was about to hit their second milestone, so we were going to put some more capital out. And when we started to talk about it, I said, "Hey, well, what's going on? And he couldn't answer me. He didn't have an answer. Now the rest of my board members were saying, "Well, what's he going to do with this equity, right?" And I said, "I don't know." So I met with him afterwards, and at that point, he had put in a decent amount of money into the company, and I said, "Hey, well, we'll just why don't we start with just like you get your money back, go do what you want to do." And I'm not going to say the amount, but I started to say the amount. He said, "No, that's not enough." And at that moment, I was kind of like, what is going on? Subsequently, 2 years later, hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees. He sued me, he sued our board for violating fiduciary responsibility, all kinds of stuff. Again, this is my best friend, not to mention our siblings were engaged at the time. Plot twist. And I haven't spoken with him. That happened on a Thursday. On Tuesday, I got a letter from his lawyer, and I haven't spoken with him since that day. But subsequently, I went on, we invested in probably 10 other companies, and I'm still rolling. But that was some real stuff.
Yeah, you win the prize
They
for
marry?
most trauma.
No, the marriage did not. It did not. Yeah, it didn't happen.
Surprise.
Yeah, would have been pretty awkward.
Sorry, glad you prevailed.
We're some prep guy, right?
Yeah.
Ooh, ooh. A lot of you have mentioned some of the qualities of leadership, but how does a leader build trust in an organization? How does a leader build trust that the people that work with and for him or her trust them? How does that happen?
Well, we've hit several of them. I think on the the sort of the the shipmate me kind of thing, and thinking the servant leadership. I think that is very powerful. There's no question, but it has to be. It comes from an authentic outlook and approach, and I think people see through inauthenticity, and it needs to be genuine. And needs to be a sense of caring for other people. And then you earn that trust over time. And it is one thing, it is the kind of thing where you can lose it in an afternoon too. You can lose it very quickly. It's built over a long period of time, and it's doing what you think are the right things every day, and having people see that and believe in you as you go through. But it can be lost quickly. I always like that. I'm, as you mentioned, a Notre Dame guy. So, and I grew up during the Lou Holtz era. So you would expect I like Lou Holtz and all those things. But he had his rules were, do the best you can, do the right thing, and show people that you care. And I think if you show people that you care, then you can build the trust.
Thanks, Brian. Anybody else want to add up on the trust?
Yeah, I was going to say, show them you care and fulfill what you say you're going to do.
I was gonna say, when I heard Susan's story about Ridgewell's in the pandemic, that's a leader I can trust. And I see you on Thursday morning, Thanksgiving turkey lines, so Susan, I think, has exemplified that, I'm sure.
Andrew?
I would say that one of the other things in terms of building that trust, I think we've talked about transparency. Right. It's a big thing. You can't just act like nothing's going on if there's bad things happening or there's adversity. But I do also think that there's, in the businesses that I'm involved with, fortunate enough to be doing those with my dad in some circumstances. And, we treat people, and it's different from business to business, right? There's some areas and some sectors where you can't necessarily do this, but working with a lot of startups, growing businesses, building businesses, you treat people like family, you go the extra mile, right? So I recall our healthcare economics guy, we run a value-based care company, and his mother was super, super sick, and she needed to be put into like a hospice. And he basically said, I can't take the time off right now because we're in the thick of things. And part of the leadership piece that I watched my dad do is he said, "Hey, I appreciate that you're so dedicated, but you got to go, you got to leave." And more importantly, making sure that when he got to his destination, especially given that we're in a healthcare business, everything was set up for his mother already. To me, the ability to actually care for somebody on a personal level and a professional level and blend those things with the right balance is super unique. And it's not something that everybody can do, but it's a skill that I think certain people develop faster, but it's something that you can learn over time, but it's definitely critical.
Great, thanks. Okay, moving to our next topic, philanthropy. All of you give of your time and your treasure and your talent to various good causes around town. What drives you to do that?
You want me to start or you
Yes.
want? Yeah. Okay. I'll start. So I'll tell you a little story about how I got involved with WJA as a way to kind of kick off on this theme. So this was probably, it's probably, going on 15 years ago. We're family parishioners at Holy Trinity in town. And we had young kids and we were busy. But we knew that we wanted to be active in the community, just weren't sure exactly how. And I'd said, I'd like to get involved in education in town some way, Catholic education, just a values-oriented education. So I wrote an email to the priest at Holy Trinity and just said, do you have any ideas of places that might be good to visit or to get involved with in town? And he wrote back a very long email, several pages. But the first one was Washington Jesuit Academy. And you didn't have to be very smart to tell that he thought that's the one I should go and visit, number one, and go and see. So I reached out to President Whitaker to go and visit him, and never met him, and just walked into the building and he gave me a tour of WJ, and I fell in love with the place right away, saying this is exactly what I want to get involved with, where you can help young people who could use the help and the opportunity in a setting that's winning. And what can I do to get involved here? And I think back at that, and I think if I'm in your seats, there are tons of places that you can get involved with in town. There's so many nonprofits that could use support and help.
Mm-hmm.
WJ is definitely one on that list of fabulous outfits. But I think it's worth sort of thinking about, hey, what might be interesting to me, and doing some work to find out what resonates with you and fits, because then you'll come with more passion to it. And it's been being involved at WJA, being involved in a number of different charities in town has been, just so enhancing to life. So I say you guys if you're here, you already believe that this is something that's worthwhile to do in your own lives. But I'd encourage you to really step on the gas.
Susan?
Yeah, so our tagline is passion for celebration. You stole my link. Be passionate about whatever you do. And I have a team in place, and I say, whatever you want to do, whatever you feel passionate about. I know you're all busy, you're new in your career, but you need to find something to give back to the people who give to you. And I do a lot of speaking, and I love to mentor women and girls. And I end with the top 10 list. I kind of tell my story and I end with a top 10 list. And I think number 3 is give back, give often, give always. And it's just more personally fulfilling for me to give back to those who need it the most. And whether it's, I think the first time when I bought the company, I donated linens to Rachel's Women's Center. And they sent me a coffee mug with chocolate kisses in it with a thank you note, handwritten thank you note. And I'm like, I feel like I can really help these people. I mean, I loved the thank you note, but I didn't want to be another name on a piece of stationery. I didn't want to just be a face. I want to make an impact. So I felt like I went and, like you did, I called them and I said, can I come visit what you do and see what it's all about? And I ended up joining their board, chairing different things for them. But it's just really important about what you're passionate about. And I know you're all young, and it's not about money. You don't have to give a lot of money. It's giving your time. Giving your time at your age is more important than writing a check. Let Vince write the checks. But it's really important, and it makes me whole when I give back to the community.
Yeah, I would echo what Brian and Susan said in terms of finding your purpose and why are you working so hard? You want to add value and make an impact. And I said it in the quote that they asked me for here, find your why, follow your why. Why are we doing all of this? And hopefully it's not just to put a bunch of money in your bank account, but to give back. It's hard with kids and job to find a level of time. I try to give some time, but I also try to be charitable on a variety of causes. And like Brian said, there's a lot of great things out there. For me, WJA, I mean, John Hoffman and Bill Whitaker were the founders, and they were friends. And I got out of the Navy and got to town and checked it out when it was on their old location, and got involved early. And it was just small dollars, but I've stayed with it. And I think, Susan, you touched on this a little bit. It's a little selfish too, because it makes me feel good, right? When you're giving back, and whether it's working at a soup kitchen or doing something, or just, you know, cutting the check, it makes you feel good about what you're doing, and the value that you're adding, in addition to just your little world.
Andrew?
Yeah, I was going to say, Tommy had said it makes you feel good. I don't think you have to apologize for that when it comes to being philanthropic. I think that bringing in your passion, bringing in what you're interested in is super important. For me with WJA, I've told this story to a couple people, but I grew up hearing about WJA. My parents were involved for a long time. My mom was on the founding board. And so I grew up hearing, I'm going to a WJA event. And, you know, I had no idea what that meant at that time. But when I got out of college, I think they were, you know, looking for some young, young people, and folks that understood how important the mission was. And so being involved with the Academy has been really an extension of what was instilled in me growing up. I like to think a lot in terms of like percentage chances, right? So I think about my family, my parents, where they came from having absolutely nothing. My mom was a foster kid. My dad's mom died when he was in 4th grade. From Bed-Stuy. They're both from New York. And so then I kind of fast forward and I think about the fact that, so I have an older brother. We're actually both adopted. And my parents couldn't have children. And so when I like start going through these different things and I think about all the impact that they've had, for me, it's always just been, how do I take what they have worked so hard to build, and along with my brother, figuring out ways to continue to have impact and then magnify that impact with the same level of quality. And when it comes to education, I think that's just one of the best opportunities and doors you can open for somebody. We sponsor a number of scholars at Notre Dame, and NYU first-generation kids going to undergrad and law school. And I read through the applications of these kids, and it's like, even standing next to them, I'm embarrassed, because I don't know how somebody takes care of 3 siblings and then, you know, has a 4.2 and then aces the ACT, SAT, and gets to that point. And so it does feel good to be able to provide opportunities, but I think that if you can figure out what impact means to you, it's going to look different than other people from the person sitting next to you. But it's all about finding out what drives you and what will actually make you get out of bed early, or, you know, go out late to help somebody. What is that thing? If you can find that thing, then again, it's not about how much money,
right,
but you can have impact.
Great. Thank you all very much. I, as Dan mentioned, I've been around a while in the Catholic community. And unfortunately, I had the misfortune of coming along. He's a little older than me, but Monsignor John Ensler, who many even know is the prolific fundraiser in the Archdiocese. And Father John and I probably get more phone calls refused. When I call someone, they know I'm calling for money. So they don't take the call. But I was at the Don Bosco Cristo Rey benefactors dinner last week, and Mark Schreiber, who's the president of Don Bosco, read this quote from a Dutch theologian, Father Henri Nouwen, and it's about fundraising, and it made me feel good. Here's the quote: "From the perspective of the gospel, fundraising is not a response to a crisis. Fundraising is first and foremost a form of ministry. It is a way of announcing our vision and inviting other people into our mission. Vision brings together needs and resources to meet those needs. Vision gives us courage to speak when we might want to remain silent. Fundraising is proclaiming what we believe in such a way that we offer other people an opportunity to participate with us in our vision and mission. Fundraising is precisely the opposite of begging." I really like that. "When we seek to raise funds, we are not saying, 'Please, could you help us out because lately it's been hard.' Rather, we are declaring, 'We have a vision that is amazing and exciting. We are inviting you to invest yourself through the resources that God has given you, your energy, your prayers, and your money in this work to which God has called us. Gives fundraising a good name, which I like. We're going to open up the Q&A for a few minutes, and then we'll return to the reception. So anybody have any questions for our illustrious group? Don't be shy. Kate.
Yeah.
So first of all, I'll just start because it's a great question. I'm thinking about it real time. I'm the one that counseled, like, be careful how you define success, right? It was absolutely different when I was getting out of college. I've got high school kids. Their vision of success, get into a great college. Define that for me, right? Like, get into the college there's college, as parents, college, there's a right college for all of my kids and everybody, if you even want to go to college. So, be careful at every step of your journey how you define success, because typically you get there or you don't get there. But if you get there, then you realize it's just another hill to climb, right? And so we're always doing that. That's why it is a journey. So that's step one. I'm sorry, what was the other part of your question? There were lots. How has it changed over time? And that's where, for me, I'm really, really proud of the fact that I served in the Navy. I'm really, really proud that I was fortunate enough to be in a position to start some businesses, right? That was pretty cool to be able to start a business. What I'm most proud of, the network of really good people that I associate with, hopefully the values that I'm passing along to my children, and that I can look myself in the mirror, right? There's no cutting corners, and they've never cut corners. And that, to me, as I get older, I realize that's most important, because a lot of those other things are out of your control.
I think it changes. Success, the definition of success changes as you evolve. And for me, employing over 300 people, and they have a happy, safe place that they come to work with a steady paycheck and a safe environment. I've got someone who's worked for me for over 30 years. Actually, one of them's here, Paula. Her husband was my executive pastry chef for many, many years. But one of my cooks was so happy that he was able to send his kids to college as a result of this job. So it's measured differently. For me, it's making sure that the people that I'm surrounded with are happy, whether it be my sons or my employees or my friends. But it measures differently at different times in your life.
I would say I'm in an interesting position because I'm still figuring it out. I think I've had way more failures than success, which is something that I had to get comfortable with. Not comfortable in that it's okay, but I'm 33, and I think even thinking about maybe 3 years when I hit 30, it's like a very retrospective, time for anybody that's turned 30, kind of just start looking back at stuff. And as I think about where my head was at when I left college, I think I would have assumed that I would have done a lot more personally. I had friends who, had these amazing jobs in finance and everything you could think of. And I was always kind of like lagging behind. And so it took me a while to figure out what success for me meant. But I think that over time, it's obviously going to be a result of your experiences. But in order to continue to define it and have those milestones, I think you have to kind of like give yourself grace, because it's not something that's going to be immediately apparent what success means to you. So it definitely changes over time. I'm still trying to figure it out. But in the meantime, I think trying to just build on, what has been, I've been blessed to have, and make sure that is having impact is success. It's enough success for now.
What an awesome question, by the way. So a couple thoughts for you on that. First, first is I remember at my business school graduation, the dean, and this is at Harvard Business School, this is like the center of the world for capitalism, right? And this is, they're sending an army of 800 people out to go and make money, and to drive value in companies and to lead companies. And that's the feel of it. Now, a lot of folks to do nonprofit, but like that's the mission of the place, is to send leaders in the world to drive value for corporates. That's the idea. And the dean in his speech said, no amount of failure at home will make up for success. No amount, if you fail at home, it won't make up for any success that you've had in the world. Don't fail at home. And that was a really important message in a world where that wasn't the theme and that wasn't what you'd hear. And that resonated with me. First of all, I'd heard that growing up, and that's how I lived and how I thought about things. But in time, that becomes more important, and so always had that feel, but even more so. And so that's evolved with time. The other is I always had a real passion in being with mission-driven groups, and whether that was teams or colleges or whatever it might be that you're with. Certainly WJA is as mission-driven as it gets. I mean, there are no places that I've been where no one cares about their ego in the room. It's all about the boys, and I always really love that at WJA. But even now in my work, in a place where some folks might say, well, why, how could you find a mission working in a private equity firm? That's one of the worst places you could ever be. How could that ever happen? For me, I find, great satisfaction in saying every day with the mission that, look, we're investing money for pension funds, for, families are trying to send their kids to school, big institutions that are trying to make sure that we get vaccines to people in Africa. And if we generate returns for them, we're accomplishing their mission, and that's mission driven in a great way. And if you're doing it with people and you're trying to drive a culture of collaboration, that's mission driven. And I think about my life going forward as the more opportunities I have to be part of strong missions that have the right values and values consistent with how I was raised, what's important to me, what's important to my wife, to my family. That's what I want to do more of. And that, I think it just strengthens over time. I feel like it has for me.
Thanks. Maybe one more question. Third one.
Nope.
If not, how about a nice round of applause for our fabulous panel?
Jose, I just got a question.
All right. Sorry, Josiah.
I wouldn't have gone where I am today. Don't know how much I found now. First grad, and I made it by him. And for example, this morning I woke up to a call that one of my cousins got it rated by the police, right? Because of crime. And had I not been with them, I know I would have been okay. I don't know that you'll actually get opportunity. Boys that will try and pinpoint it. When I went through hard things as a graduate, when I went to college, it was what did that kept me going. Like it was the fact that I knew that someone had put so much money, to the point where I ended up making it to the final just because I knew that I wanted to go kids from where I come from. And till this day, my closest friend, my best friend, till this day is the first kid I met when I was watching. And it's the fact that I have friends that are my closest friends because I really know what we go through in our personal life, right? We go to college, we make all these friends, but no one really knows what's going on behind the scenes, what we're trying to do. Guys, thank you.
Thank you. That's a perfect ending. Asher, you want to bring us in?
Sure. Yeah. Josiah just finished his first round of fundraising for his company, so congratulations. First and foremost, I want to start by thanking you all for coming here tonight. Appreciate you joining us. Also want to thank our panelists and our moderator, Vincent, Brian, Tom, Susan, Andrew. Thank you so much for an insightful and impactful discussion. Your stories and your perspective will certainly give us all something to think about a lot tonight and to walk away with to make some actionable steps in our personal and lives and career as well. So following in the theme of tonight's event, want to encourage you all to get involved with Washington Jesuit Academy. There's so many different ways to interact and get engaged with our community. You can join our auxiliary board. You can join the 900 Club. You can attend our events. Really excited for all the people in this room to help make an impact where we can, and we're welcoming all that support. And I would say as well, hopefully after leaving here tonight, I encourage you to spread the word about the Washington Jesuit Academy to your friends, family, colleagues, clients, everyone within your community and your network. We as an Aux board have really tried to be intentional recent about spreading the word and getting the word out there about the Washington Jesuit Academy. And we're proud to be represented by alum from various Jesuit institutions throughout the country: Scranton Prep, St. Joe's, Fordham Prep. I might be missing a couple out there too, but Tampa Jesuit, and then of course Georgetown Prep and Gonzaga, and that's not ranked in any particular order, but so we want to say thank you so much, and then Brian, Tom, Susan, Andrew, Vincent, we're really going to lean on you as well to tap some of your rising stars throughout your companies who you think would be great additions to our auxiliary board as well. We're really looking forward to adding to it, and we think there's a bright future for what we can do for the Washington Jesuit Academy, for sure. I really also do want to thank the WJA staff, faculty, Lisa, Joey, James, Denise, Deanne, Marcus Washington, who wasn't able to make it tonight, who we dearly miss today. Thank you so much for all you do. We really do appreciate it. And you guys are rock stars. And thank you so much for the sweat equity and to making tonight's event successful, because I don't know about you, but that was very impactful. So thank you so much for your stories. And thanks again for helping create a brighter future for the students at WJA.
And I believe the bar is still open for a little while. Thanks for coming.
Good to see you. Nice to see you Thanksgiving.
You'll see us at Thanksgiving. For sure.
Great.
Yeah,
Great. Nice to meet you. Yeah, you too. Yes, yes, thank you, you too. Yeah.
Sure.
Ugh.
Photo out behind the.
All right.
Okay.
Let's see if I can get Lisa. Well, let me get you guys first.